it S&Sx. In this 2-hour evening, we will introduce 3 Asian presenters, Kat Vergara, Oliver James Damien, and Fazana Doctor, with each speaking on a sexuality-related topic for 15 minutes each. There will be a Q&A session afterwards. We will schedule it after every session. Then there will be a fun activity for participants during this event. At the end of the session, Martha will have a show and tell sponsored by Pink Lifestyle. For this event, we would like to acknowledge our sponsor, Pink Lifestyle. Pink Lifestyle offers a wide range of lingerie, personal massage equipment, lubricants, and aromatic body oil. They carry top brands around the world, from Japan, UK, and USA, each with their own distinctive culture and definition of design and innovation. Their mission is simply based on careful selection of products with the best quality at the most affordable prices. Ultimately, their aim is to bring couples closer together in the most direct manner. It is their goal to help you feel good about yourself and to draw out your inner beauty. Pink Lifestyle is a premium reseller of Lilo from Sweden, Womanizer, WeVibe, and Fun Factory from Germany, and Levents from the USA, Tanga and Iroha from Japan. They are also a key distributor of the sophisticated Anamu lingerie brand with more than 1,000 designs to choose from. Okay, now let's move on to our theme for tonight's session. Do we all know what it is? Since it's Masturbation Month, it's May. So our theme for tonight is pleasure. For speaker number 1, we have Kat Vergara, and she will be talking about matters of the heart, finding magic in mutual masturbation. Relationships are not just about intimacy. In this 15-minute talk, witch, spiritual counselor, and author Kat, also known for her witch handle as Bramblevitch, will walk you through how mutual masturbation served as a gateway for healing, unlearning old beliefs about sex, and self-discovery not only for her, but also for her partner. So I will let Kat introduce herself because I also want to know what a Bramblevitch is, and also give us a brief description of what she looks like for our friends who cannot see her. Okay, Kat, take it away.
Okay. Hello. Hello, good evening over here in my side of the world. I am Kat. I go by the handle Bramblevitch. For those who, for our disabled audience out there, I am a Filipina, brown skin, dark hair. I'm wearing cat-shaped glasses. And I'm very petite, but you won't be able to see it since I'm seated down. So again, hello, I'm Kat, the Bramblevitch. I am a practicing witch, spiritual counselor, writer, and businesswoman. So you all may be wondering, what is a witch like me doing in a talk like this? I'm not a sex counselor or a therapist, but a part of my craft is to embrace not only the fluidity of sexuality, but also sex. So hail Loki and hail Freya, if I must. This then brings me to my topic for today. So, Kat, is there magic in pleasure and intimacy? Yes, I would like to believe that there is magic in pleasure and intimacy, whether you're doing solo, a partner, or even in a group. Unfortunately, if you're here to listen to me lecture about gayuma, or otherwise known as love spells in Filipino, this is not the talk for you. That can be a talk for another time, but right now in Masturbation May or Pleasure May, I would like to talk about how non-penetrative sex or mutual masturbation can be magical holistically. So, I know you might be confused with me talking about magic in a sugar and spice talk. Well, let me first clear out what magic for me is as a practitioner. Magic is not limited to spells, wand waving, and chanting to the faces of the moon. It's not like in Harry Potter. It's not like in media right now. Magic is how we change our fears and insecurities into strengths, seeking help to be better versions of ourselves, or even trying out new things, which were considered as taboo. Magic is how we can transmute. Please take note of the word transmute ourselves into becoming something we have never thought we could achieve. And here I'm going to say mutual masturbation can be magical for partners. So, okay, I'm going to be a bit technical for a bit, slightly, since I'll try to explain mutual masturbation in a way that I understand it. Mutual masturbation is often seen as foreplay if we go technical in the Google search. You and your partner touch and explore each other. You rile each other up before penetrative sex. And yes, toys like vibrators can be involved, but I like to think that it's still sex. But if for those who are still wondering or a bit confused on why, I want you to look at it this way. If you were raised in a Catholic household, especially here in the Philippines, you won't have good, honest, and proper sex education. And if a girl is not given this, especially in her formative years, neither are boys. Yes, we are taught the basics of the reproduction system. We are taught about what a penis is. We're taught about what a vagina is. But nothing, zero open and honest discussions about how pleasure is or how to be pleased. These are completely taboo, not only in our homes, but also when we're out with friends, we're out with relatives that we are comfortable with. Nobody wants to talk about it. So even the dominant religion here sees masturbation as sinful and wrong. So you would here in the Philippines you would get occasional social media posts on how masturbation is sinful and bad and it will bring you to hell. I guess most of us here will have negative salvation points. For the fellow Filipinos here, yeah, I'd say it's minus ligtas points po tayo. So here you have to wait until marriage even to know what sex is, even to know how you can be intimate with your partner. My experience, according to my mom's story, she didn't even know how babies were made. She really assumed that holding hands with her significant other would already result into babies. So that's a lot of unlearning for her. So for my generation, imagine relying on clandestine conversations, gossip, and media. And we all know that this can be misleading in the long run, especially when you're starting to build up long-lasting relationships. So aside from the negligence and stigmatization of sex education that has caused, of course, unwanted pregnancies and the scandalization of necessary protectives like condoms and contraceptives, this negative outlook of sex has paved the way for many being unable to know themselves beyond the bedroom. So, with that kind of brief background, um, you want to be intimate with your partner, but you have zero ideas on how they think. Personally, you may have known your body to a certain extent, but things start to shift or become different when you have a partner. This was something I personally realized when my now fiance and I first decided to be intimate. I'm not saying that I have zero encounters. I did. I was intimate with women before, so the vagina and the clitoris were a playground that I was a bit familiar with. But when faced with the opposite sex, I have no idea how that happens. No amount of porn and erotica prepared me for that. So here is where mutual masturbation feels like a risk to me. Premarital sex is extremely looked down, especially here in the Philippines. And even if I've been intimate with a woman, I really needed to know my partner, who is male, on how we respond to each other because I'm pretty sure it's very different, especially biologically. Something told me, or intuition, as we would say, is that if I wanted to spend my entire life with this guy, I have to get to know him also in the bedroom. So, yes, it was a risk, but it was well worth it. So we experimented on a few things, positions, everything. It wasn't even sexy with all the grinding, with the clothes. But as a bisexual person with zero encounters with men, I surprised myself. And my partner was also surprised because of how things just took off just by grinding and just masturbating through our clothes. And also, after the act, we actually did research. We actually looked it up if it's really possible. And yes, it's actually mutual masturbation. And that one event led to conversations. And then it became deeper conversations like our traumas, our fears, and even limits. And here, I also want to stress that mutual masturbation helps with intimacy. Sex is an intimate act, but often our traumas hinder us from being intimate. Personally, this was something I had to overcome because of my own traumas, being touched inappropriately by the opposite sex in public when I was a child. But just because I'm bisexual doesn't mean I am not immune to traumas brought on by the opposite sex. You can still be bisexual, but still have these kinds of traumas. Truth be told, I fear that I wouldn't be able to get it on with my boyfriend and partner, now fiance. On his end, on his side of the pond, he had also problems with self-esteem. Growing up, he was bullied because of body issues. He was left by his girlfriend because he was just, as kids in high school would say, he was a loser. But then again, I really think that it's just peer pressure to call him that. But the greatest hit to his self-esteem was his inability to stay hard during sex, especially in the middle of things. And it was hard. It was really hard, especially was as a woman. Although I know that it's not his fault, but sometimes the disappointment and also the guilt on yourself that he can't stay hard. Maybe it's because of you. That initial thought, it does get to you. So it all again, we decided to maybe, you know what, let's not do penetrative sex. Let's just try to touch each other, get ourselves to climax, maybe do it as much as we want to, or as much as our stamina would let us do it. And it helped because mutual masturbation helped us compromise when physical penetration became too frustrating without sacrificing intimacy. We watched each other get it off, or we helped each other get off. And it was also here that we started to introduce toys because it ended up becoming a favorite compromise of ours. It was a bit weird at first, but I'm glad to say it ended up being a really nice kink that we both did not expect because between the two of us, I'm the type who likes to use toys. He was the type like maybe like, no, maybe not toys. He's very in a way conservative. But that changed when we started to explore, take risks, especially in terms of intimacy. So another thing I wanted to share about mutual masturbation is that through it, you learn how to trust. So segue for a bit. In tarot, the lovers is always thought of related to romantic relationships because of course there's two people in the card. But what if I tell you that there is more to the meaning of the tarot card? The lover is not just about relationships. It also tells about communication, that you should communicate to your partner in order to create and foster a harmonious relationship. And when there is communication, there is also trust. Just like penetrative sex, mutual masturbation needs consent. And consent needs trust. So, as someone who likes her toys but has a partner who isn't sure about them, it took a lot of talks, it took a lot of sharing of pictures, exploring, late night sending of pictures of maybe you want this, or maybe what do you think of this? Before we manage to find a compromise or the things that he actually wants to try, or maybe even a common ground. So, through that, if you trust your partner, The subspace feeling wipes you out. Finally, exploration can still be done with mutual masturbation. I'm going to use my relationship as an example again. Unlike me, who was more aware of sexual inclinations, my partner wasn't. He did have thoughts that what happens in porn or Japanese hentai can happen in real life. He only knew how to pleasure himself and have always thought of himself as vanilla. Now, there is nothing wrong with being vanilla. We don't discriminate here. But we did agree eventually to try exploring ourselves sexually because he said that there was something more than what we currently have. And it was a really good thing to hear after a very long while of being intimate. He taught me where he was most sensitive. He took my hand and let me explore his pleasure spots. While on my end, I told him where to touch me. And it helped us get to know our anatomy a little bit better since I realized that things are different when you are doing it solo or when you're having sex with the same sex. It was a rather interesting experience in my opinion, and I'm really happy that that moment really created a turning point in our relationship. The more we explored, the more sex became magical itself. He wasn't the only one learning, that's the thing. I was also learning. Although I do admit that we still have a long way to go, and when I was still drafting this talk, I actually stopped for a moment and looked back for the 5 years that we've been together, and I realized that oh shit, we've gone a far distance from when we started dating, and I didn't like to compare my experience, but it was more. I realized more things in this relationship than in my other relationships that refused to explore and take risks while being intimate. Today, I don't see the unsure boy that I had a crush on. I've watched this guy grow more confident in what he wanted. And myself, I also grew in confidence. True that there are a few hiccups, and right now, because of the pandemic, we have to wait until things clear up before we can spend intimate nights again. But seeing someone grow out of their insecurity simply because you started touching and watching each other masturbate is magic in itself. From our insecure selves, we managed to transmute these to- into confidence in just a few years. And that is magic. Again, magic isn't limited to the act of casting a spell to make one fall in love with you. Magic happens when you watch someone transmute their insecurities with an erotic touch in the right place. So if you enjoyed the talk, if you enjoyed my energy, you can actually book a Matters of the Heart reading with me. You can contact me at instagram.com/slash Bramblevitch. And that's it. I actually am doing tarot readings for relationships, for people that need spiritual guidance. And I'm also preparing to create a podcast on magic, as well as maybe talks in the future. But that's something still in the air. Hopefully, that will manifest in the future. So that's it. That's my talk for the evening. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you so much for sharing such a personal story with us. Now the floor is open for everyone to ask questions. If you have any, you can also private message me or Kat.
Don't worry, I don't bite. Okay. how did the idea of mutual masturbation come up? To be honest, the word mutual masturbation didn't come in until further in the relationship. It just happened out of the blue. We ended up looking up if there is an actual term for it, and there was. And personally, I like to dig a bit because I love to research. And I found out that the things that we've been doing to get each other off, because well, he just couldn't stay hard, was actually mutual masturbation. You can do it through clothes. You can do it when one of you is just wearing clothes and the other is naked. Both of you can be naked. Toys can be involved. It can be hands off. One is watching. It's still mutual masturbation. And I really think that it's a beautiful thing. And what's really funny is that it was only last year that I found the right word to call it.
So with your gift for writing, did you write any story or poem for this experience, or do you come up with like a different term for it?
Um, my last zine, Hush Hush, was actually a collection of our intimate moments together. So I'm working on putting it up on Amazon ebook since I have a lot of projects right now under my belt. So I'm still learning the ropes of making ebooks. But hopefully by the end of the year, I can get all my erotica poems up and uploaded. Okay, from Dr. Martha, how did he deal with the lack of erection? He actually had a hard time the first time it happened. It was really a very insecure thing. It wasn't pretty. I'm going to admit it. It wasn't pretty. We had how can I translate the thoughts into words right now? It was a night of disappointment, I guess. But we eventually realized that it shouldn't um, be a big thing between the two of us, because I told him that, if we can actually get off without being inside of me, then maybe we should try new things. Maybe you should try watching me get off, and then you try getting off. And it ended up being something that we do, especially when, of course, since the back then he hasn't proposed to me yet. So when we meet up, of course, it's on our own volition. Here in the Philippines, of course, as I mentioned, that premarital sex is taboo, so we have to like do it on our meet up clandestine. So it's also in a way a safe way of making sure that I don't get pregnant, because I have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I can't even predict my periods. So until I got an OB, everything was unpredictable. We always had a pregnancy scare. So also mutual masturbation kind of helped us eliminate that scare. Did you ever feel like it was your fault? Yes. I used to think that it was my fault. We did try a lot of things, like we tried the condom, but in the end we found out he was probably allergic to it, because on contact he goes soft on the condom. So we experimented a lot. It was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of talking. It was a lot of cuddling and making sure that he was okay emotionally, because you know how when men becomes insecure about their own sexual virility, they get hit really hard comparing to maybe us women, that we can still somewhat adjust. And he really thought that he had everything. It technically a toxic, I guess, a toxic masculinity kind of mindset. But we managed to at least find a compromise between the two of us. And I really hope that when we do end up tying the knot, that we can still continue doing it, because he seems to enjoy it a lot. And it has boosted his own self-esteem. So that's what I really want in this relationship, that for him to find his self-esteem even in the bed.
Thank you, Kat.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing. I can feel that the things that you have shared with us is very personal, and I really appreciate that you have come here with your vulnerability, and so that everyone else can also appreciate your sentiments, and for those people who also feel the same, that they can relate somehow.
Mhm.
So
You're
Martha has one last question.
uh,
Your experience felt so innocent, pure, vulnerable, and fun. Thanks for sharing. Can you share again what intention you had for audience in sharing this?
I'd like to tell the audience that mutual masturbation can really help you emotionally. In magic, we have what we call transmutation. And although people think of magic as being creative, I really think that magic can transmute all the negative emotion into something positive. And in a way, in the old thinking was like turning metal, uh, any kind of metal into gold. But here in magic, any negative emotion that you have, insecurities, negative self-esteem, you can transmute that into something positive for you to be more confident about yourself. And I really think for those who are really still unsure about the whole sex thing, that mutual masturbation can be a gateway for that.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you.